Well, welcome back to the Reality Halfway House. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be kind of going off the rails a little bit. I've been out for the last couple of weeks, and so we're going to be talking today about do the ends justify the means? We're in a wild, wacky world, caught between realms. This is the Reality Halfway House. I'm your host, Jones Nelson. So I've been out for the last couple of weeks because I've been kind of under the weather. My wife was under the weather. My son was under the weather. My mom came to visit. It's just been kind of a wild world. So at the end of the day, it's just been kind of weird trying to get in here. But I've missed it. And rather than have some sort of a specific agenda, I was like, you know what? I just need to hop on there. On my radio show, there's an Ed Sheeran song that we play called Talking Out Loud or Speaking Out Loud. I think it's, I'm trying to remember now. Now I open up the mic. I can't remember. Talking Out Loud, I think it's called. Anyway, I use that as kind of as a platform to be able to tell people, it's like, look, man, we're in this world today where we're super disconnected from each other. And so that disconnection, I think, is probably predicated a lot on the internet and the way that it is really kind of isolated. It's connected us more and disconnected us at the same time, right? But so I tell people, it's like, well, I mean, just like I've done, maybe, consider starting a podcast, at least giving yourself an outlet that you can go through and you can discuss. Now, I know, and unless you've been living under a rock, that the internet is a very open place, way more open than it should be. That's for absolute sure. People are way too honest on the internet. But I think that it is important for us to be able to have open lines of communication. And for everybody out there, too, that's listening, I just want to say thank you. Look, this is a brand new podcast. And, I don't have any visions of grandeur that I'm reaching, millions of people. Hopefully, as, again, this podcast progresses and so forth, it's going to get some additional structure and co-hosts and some other things like that, which I'm working on in the background. But all that to say is I think it's very important and cathartic for us to be able to have an avenue because we just don't have that anymore. So many of us, it's like, I remember the moment that it started back in, I'd graduated college back in 2006. And, the internet had been out, for probably about, pretty solid for about 10 years, I guess, at that point, give or take. But like really solid. And I just remember my first corporate job, I was sitting there and it's like I would be emailing people like sitting next to me. And I just remember thinking, that is so strange. Like, they're sitting right there. I'd be instant messaging them, and they're right next to me. And I was like, that is so bizarre, because I was on a chat team. And so I was chatting and I was placing trades for people and, resetting passwords and doing all that kind of stuff. And so, most of the time I had my headphones in and I'm just working. And so I would be like messaging people sitting next to me like, hey, can you take a look at this chat? Or, hey, can you do that? And rather than like, hey, can you take a look and lean over and ask them? It's just bizarre. And I just remember thinking, this is such a weird thing. And I said, I wonder what the long-term implications are going to be. I'd be sitting there just working and contemplating that fact. And here we are literally 20 years later. And we're in a world where we are so disconnected. We are absolutely disconnected from each other. And I think people are starting to push back on this. People are starting to get to a point where they're saying, I don't want to do this anymore. People are craving a connectedness, that we just, and the wild thing is there's so many people today, especially the younger kids, like the Gen Zs that have never had that. Like they've never lived in a world where they've had that connection. Right. And so all they know are their cell phones. And it's wild because most of them get like mad if you try to pick up the phone and call them. I'm kind of like one of those guys where it's like if it's going to take me longer than, like 10 seconds to type out a text, I was like, I'm just going to call you. And it drives those Gen Z crazy. They'll send it to voicemail and text me back, what's up? And it's like, because they don't know how to talk. That's where this whole Gen Z stare comes from. It's like anytime there's any sort of a confrontation in the physical, they literally lock up. They don't know how to deal with it. Like they don't know how to process that information. Whereas it's like I grew up, my generation grew up, we talked on the phone. We called each other and, like we'd have to talk to our friends' parents, which is weird, and our girlfriend's parents, is weird. And so it's a completely different sense of connection. And I was out working earlier today on my car, and we're trying to replace the power steering pump. And my neighbor, who's 71, who I've just really met just here recently, has been kind of helping me out with it. And I never asked him for help. It was kind of one of those things. I was underneath the car one day working on it, and I just see these pair of legs walk up and say, "Hey man, what are you working on?" And I didn't know even who I was talking to. And I said, "Oh, I'm just, tinkering down here." He said, "Well, you need any help?" And I said, "Oh, no, man, I'm good. Just go ahead and pray." I said, if you want to help me, you can pray for me." And before I knew it, I just see this head pop under the car next to me, and he's down there and he started tinkering and stuff. Well, turns out he's a car guy, and he works on Corvettes and other. I mean, he likes working on cars, and so it's been good. But it's interesting because we don't really. I mean, again, he's a boomer. I'm a millennial. Like he's almost the same age as my dad before my dad passed. He's like in between my mom and my dad. Like, so I'm like the age of like his oldest daughter and I are like the same age. And he's like on par with like my parents, and he never had any sons, and he sees that I'm a complete idiot when it comes to auto mechanics, and he knows stuff, so he's been helping me. But what's been wild about that, and I feel terrible about it because I never once asked him for help. I'm just not a guy that asks for help like that. But he's filling a need, and I have to kind of keep telling myself, you know what, look, stop. What would you do if you were in that situation? You would render aid, or you would help. Like if you could help somebody, you would, and you wouldn't expect anything out of it. So it's like, let somebody do that for you, which drives me. That's a whole different thing. I probably need therapy. But I guess podcasting is cheaper than therapy. So here we are. But it's been interesting working with him side by side, because my dad's been dead for a couple of years now. He passed away a couple of years ago. And, I didn't realize how much I missed kind of that connection, kind of that mature male presence, because you get to, the Bible's real clear. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. And it's interesting how much you need that. And you don't realize that you need it until you just don't have it. It's like guys in particular, we require that friction. It's like we require that guy that's going to bust our balls. Like we require that. Like you see little boys playing with each other, they're roughhousing and so forth. It's built into them. That's how we grow. Like we have to have that kind of friction in order to be able to get better, because that it's through that sandpaper that you become smooth and refined, right? And I like this working with him because he's not so much busting my balls. I mean, he has been, which is good. I mean, it's like, again, it's cathartic because it's like, oh, you know what? Because my dad and I used to do that kind of stuff all the time. But it's been really good just discussing and seeing his perspective. Because today we were talking specifically about, because I've talked on the last couple of episodes how I made the transition early this summer from corporate finance to the trades. And then I had a guy that was like screwing me over, like on payroll and money and so forth, all in the trades. And I was like, screw this. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I've been applying to get back into the, kind of the finance industry, which is not kind of ideal, but at the same token, it's, it just is what it is. I kind of gave it the old college try, but I have been pretty disillusioned by the vast majority of people that I've come encountered with so far in the trades. The really good ones, the guys that are just like top notch, and I mean, they're like some really extremely talented people. They have zero patience for like new people, which is fair. I mean, I totally get it. I mean, I was like that on that side. But at my age, trying to go through and to learn this, it's like I should be a guy that knows it already. And so they don't want to have to deal with like somebody taking longer to learn, especially when they're at my age. And so I just got really disillusioned with it. I was like, you know what? The only way to do this to where it's like it makes sense for me, if I want to learn this, would be to just buy a house and flip it, myself. But don't get me started on real estate bubbles and the markets and so forth. I feel like we're coming into a pretty gnarly crash, and it's not a feeling. I'm very confident. I don't know when it's going to happen, but when it does, it's going to be ugly. You heard it here first. Make sure you got food and water handy. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's coming quickly. But all that to say is it just makes more sense if I'm going to do that to just go out and buy a house, but I'm not doing it until after the dust settles. So I'm just getting back into the swing of things. Well, because of all this is stressful, I put in like close to 200 applications. Okay, 200 applications. And I've had one interview with one company, and I've had 2 interviews with them. And it went great as far as I could tell. You know, I've been doing radio for so long, so I interview really well. And, you know, it's just, I thought we hit it off great. And the guy told me, he said, yeah, man. He said, honestly, it's coming down between you and another candidate, and you have way more experience. So he said, this other guy just has some experience that you don't have, but he's like, I feel confident you could learn it. And I was like, yeah. And I said, and the other aspect is that I actually want, it's kind of the job that I applied for is kind of a job that is transient. Like people come into it and then they move on to the other because the other side tends to be higher paying. But I like this. I actually choose this side because I actually like it. It's more analytical and more kind of up my alley. And he's like, yeah, that's actually another feather in your cap that you can do that and that you want to do it. And I was like, yeah, but I haven't heard anything back. So it's just a crazy environment. So now I'm probably 200 applications in. It's like nothing. This is just, so I'm a bit stressed, right? Just like everybody else in this job market, right? And so I told him, I was like, you know, man, I said, you know, working on this thing, and we've been fighting with this power steering pump for like a month. I mean, it's just been one thing after another. You know, we get it on there, and then the pulley got bent, and then the power steering pump itself was bad, and we had to get a new one, and then just one thing after another, you know. But what it's been doing is forcing us to spend some time together, which is I would have never done. And he's like legitimately has told me multiple times, he's like, man, I've really enjoyed getting to work on this. Like, I know this can be frustrating working on parts and stuff. He said, but I've just enjoyed it. And I told him today, I said, you know, just having this time together has been kind of like we've been watching the Avatar movies, and what's the second and the third one? They spend a good chunk of time underwater, right? And it's like the guys that don't live there all the time, they can't breathe underwater, so they find those like pockets of air that they can swim up into and breathe. I told him, I was like, you're kind of like one of those pockets of air for me right now. It's like in all of the stress, it's like being able to have this interaction together has been like that pocket of air. And he said, you know what, man? He said, it's been like, you've been like that for me too. And again, we have a huge age discrepancy, right? I mean, he's probably 30, almost 30 years older than me. And at the end of the day, he said, anytime something goes on in my life, he's like, I used to have lots of friends. He said, but I go to call them and I remember, oh no, they're dead. Or, oh, they passed away like 6 months ago, or they died last year, you know, because he's getting to that age, that stage of life to where things are, you know, people and so forth are starting to, you know, kind of pass naturally, you know, just with their age. And he said, I didn't realize how much I was missing, like having that interaction with somebody else, like another guy. And it just really hit me. As after, you know, we kind of finished up and I, you know, went kind of tore things down to get set up to come in here. It just really hit me that we've really fallen a long way from being able to communicate with each other. And again, like I said, it goes back to, you know, 2006. You know, I'm sitting there at my first job and I'm emailing somebody that's sitting next to me. I don't know when it started. It was exacerbated, obviously, over COVID, you know, 6 feet apart, and no, you can't go see your loved one before they die, or births, or, you know, you can go and you can have 3 people. It's the reality. We were all there. We all lived it. We all saw how ridiculous it was. I guess some of us saw how ridiculous ridiculous that it was. It seems like other people still have missed the memo and just thought, oh, yeah, no, that was great. It was great to stand in those little circles at the grocery store and walk the direction. Oh my gosh! Anyway, when we started, but we've lost that connection, and their whole generations, you know, like Gen Z and whatever's after Gen Z, I forget. that were born into this, and they don't know any different. Like, they don't know how to have those connections. Like my son, because I don't let my son have social media. I don't let him, like my oldest even. I could just never have. And I'm very, kind of stringent on their video games and like all that kind of stuff. I always have been. So as a result, he tends to spend more time outside. Now he still plays video games. Both my kids do. I'm not trying to say that. But the thing is, like, he'll spend more time outside and want to go do things, and he'll call his friends, and none of them ever want to go do anything. They never want to go touch grass, And so he's like, it sucks, man. He's like, I want to go hang out and do things. And he's like, nobody ever wants to go do anything. And I just remember when I was in high school and his age, man, I mean, we were constantly out doing stuff. Like, we didn't have cell phones. It's like, shit, man. It's like your parents would be like, you better be back by 11. But they had no connection to us, like, if we left. And now it's like if my son, goes anywhere, it's like, dude, are you okay? I haven't heard from you in like 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And yet it's because the capacity to be able to do that's there. But because it's there, the trust is gone, right? You put all of your trust in the device. And it's just so weird how we just flagrantly give away all of our power to all of this shit, all this technology. It drives me crazy. And I saw something the other day, and I like to think that this means that we're healing, or we're trying to. It almost sounds like it's like the engine has seized, and we're keep trying to crank it and trying to get it to turn over. But I saw something the other day that said Gen Zs there's a trend going around where they're starting to go through and buy old iPods from like the early 2000s and listen to music that way, because they're tired of ads popping up every 10 to 15 minutes. They're tired of it. It's and I don't blame them. It's absolutely crazy. Like, a lot of the stuff that I listen to is on YouTube. Right. And I'm not paying that's ridiculous. I'm not paying for all that shit. So it's like every 5-10 minutes, I got to, skip the ad or whatever. And it's so obnoxious, man. We live in such a commercial environment, and everything has got some piece of technology in it. Like, what is it? The new refrigerators coming out? Like, you're going to have to pay a subscription fee for ice. Give me a fucking break. Are you serious? A subscription fee for ice? The new vehicles coming out, man, you've got to go through and pay subscriptions for like cruise control and it's such bullshit, man. I'm so sick and tired of this stuff, because we're living in at what point, and I know it's been this way ever my entire life, where we have to pay for every single little aspect of our lives, everything. From our water to it's like you have, and now, like Ozempic and all these other things, it's like literally we've been doing it forever, in that you have to pay for your health. But now it's like they've created this obesity epidemic with seed oils, foods, everything. Like, I mean, like, give me a break. I mean, we were all eating before, and now it's like you can see the threshold switch back in the 80s when you start switching from full fat stuff to low fat. I mean, I don't know what the catalyst was. It's probably an amalgamation of a lot of different things. But now they're going through and selling you the cure, the quote unquote cure, with Ozempic and all the other, GLP-1s or whatever they are. I don't know, man. It's every single aspect of our life has got some sort of a subscription to it. And I'm just so fucking sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. This podcast shit that I'm on, it's got a subscription. It's like all of our music. We don't own music anymore. We don't own movies anymore. We subscribe to it. What is that? You shall own nothing and be happy. It's like, I'm not happy. I want to cancel my subscription to fucking life. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds aggressive, but I'm tired of the daily grind with all this stuff. You shouldn't have to go through and pay a subscription to get ice in your refrigerator, right? It's like I saw a post the other day, and it said, this is an unpopular opinion, but he's like, I actually don't want technology to progress anymore. Like, not only do I not want it to progress anymore, like, I wanted to go back to like 1995. And you can say, well, Jones, there's been like a lot of like really great technological advances. You know what? You're right. You're right. There'd probably be some things that I would miss a lot. But guess what? It's like you got to take the good with the bad. I mean, it's gotten so ridiculous. It's like at some point you just kind of have to do without, because you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And I know that I obviously I know we can't go back to 1995. Although, with Trump posting all these pictures of portals and time travel and all kinds of stuff, if they're what did they say? He said if they're who was it? I was trying to remember. They said we've actually bought our first two. Oh no, it was Jurassic Park 3. Where they said we actually have bought tickets on the first commercial trip to the moon, right? It's like I'd buy tickets the first commercial trip in time travel. I just drop me off in 1995. That's good. Here's my old cell phone and shit. I don't need it. I don't want it. Like give me a Walkman and a Huffy bicycle and leave me alone. Leave me alone. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I just feel like we're all working towards something that it's like, do the ends justify the means? It's like, what are we actually even ending up at? So many people are tired and they're exhausted. So at the end of this thing, I'm talking with my buddy. We're talking about life, and he's all gung ho because I told him, I was like, dude, I put in like 200 applications, and I mean, you can say whatever you want, probably get blocked, for saying it, but it's like I'm a straight white male, so I'm kind of public enemy number one. I know that's a controversial statement, but I mean, I saw a video the other day where this dude had put in 400 applications, straight white male, nothing. No responses, no emails, just Dear John letters, like over and over. Changed his last name to Singh, Singh, had 3 emails and interviews scheduled within 24 hours. Didn't change anything on his resume. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. And the thing is, you can say, well, I don't know. I don't even know why you'd want to make an argument. It's like, dude, if you want to hire people, hire the people that are the most qualified. And I'm not saying I'm the most qualified. I'm saying if there's somebody more qualified than me, fuck, hire them. Like, you know what I mean? But I've been working for 20 years with exceeds expectations, and I've been in like I have clean records and everything else. Like, I'm a good employee. So after 200 applications, I mean, I understand this is a numbers game, and I'm competing a lot. Like, there was an application I filed the other day, and it had been up for an hour and had over 100 applicants. It's like, fuck, man. It's like, give me a break. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be 500, 600, 1,000. I don't know how many it's going to take. I mean, I'm just going to keep at it. I mean, complaining doesn't really solve anything. It's crazy to me where we're at in this world and what is being promoted. So, again, it's like, do the ends justify the means? What are we actually even working towards? What's the point? Like, what's the point of it? So that you can get a job that's grossly underperforming inflation? So that you can, like, I'm fortunate enough to have a house, but if I were to refinance that house right now, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Like, what world is this that we're living in? Like, what world is this that we're even living in? You've got so many people out there that are working their asses off every day, foregoing the avocado toast and the extra coffee, and my gosh, they still can't get by. Like, oh my goodness, imagine that. And the thing is, like, what are we even working for? And is it even worth it anymore? I've been a hard worker my whole life. I've had a W-2 job since I was 15 years old, right? So, like, 30 years almost I've been working. 30 years. And again, there are people who've been working a lot longer than me. But I got to thinking about it. Over the course of that 30 years, I've had to file multiple W-2s for well over half of those, which means I've been working more than 2 jobs, or at least 2 or more, for most of that 30 years. Think about that for just a second. That's insane. Like, I love to work, so I would have probably done it anyway, right? Because I love to work. But so many people out there don't have a choice. Like today, I don't have a choice but to work multiple jobs, right? Like, the side hustle is not something that you do because you're trying to get ahead. The side hustle is what you do to just try to survive. And that's insane. Like, so what are we working for? so that we can buy a refrigerator that's going to require that we go through and cough out an extra $50 a year so that you can get ice? Give me a break, man. Something's got to change. I don't know what that something is. I do know that people are getting fed up. And people keep talking about, it's like, okay, well, at what point, like right now, people are foregoing the things that they want, right? But they can still get the things that they need. But at what point, and I think we're there, if we're close, if not there, where people are not going to be able to get the things that they need anymore. Like, the thing is, like, I need extra chicken feed and extra dog feed, right? Now, I can go get it, but I have to, like, consciously think about it now. Whereas before, it's like, oh, we're out, I'm just going to swing by, Tractor Supply and go pick up that stuff, right? But now it's like, well, wait a minute, hold on, I got to wait till next paycheck and next pay. It's like, it's insane that we've got to that point. So the things that we need now, we're having to be very specific about. And I just don't know how much longer we as a people can go. And the thing is, I do believe there's hope. I've got a song coming out on September 1st. And I wrote the song back in February. And the whole song is about, it's based out of the book of Jeremiah. I believe it's chapter 6. And it's talking about how it's like, don't let yourself be the rejected silver. In other words, the song is about making how God puts you through tests and trials, and he scrapes away the dross and the impurities to help make you the best version of yourself, right? They say with like a silversmith, he knows when the silver's done, when he's able to peer over and look into it, and he can see his reflection in it, right? I know that's a campy, like, from the pulpit type of an analogy, but that's like the idea. And so that's kind of the premise behind the song. And so I do believe God puts us through these times, right? Or allows us to go through these times. Read the book of Job, one of my favorites, probably my favorite book in the Bible, because you get to see God cook. Like, you really get to see God speak. It's one of my favorites. But at the end of the day, I just truly think that we are getting to a point of kind of shit or get off the pot. It's like, are we going to accept that this is the life? This is just life now, and we allow more mass surveillance, and we allow more tyranny, and we allow more of our rights to get stripped away from us? Like, I'm not calling for whatever, like, but I think that we need to really truly ask ourselves a serious question, and that is, are we just going to go let this ship be sunk, or are we going to fight for our ability to keep afloat? And what does that look like? And I think what it looks like fundamentally is starting off extremely small and just basically trying to go through and reconnect with people. Because I think humanity is designed to work that way. We are an intricate fabric. The Bible says a cord of many strands is not easily broken, right? And so we have to think about that in terms of, if we're coming at this thing individually, we're not going to be successful. But if we start connecting with each other again, remembering what it's like to be human beings again, I think we have a much better shot of seeing effectual change in our world. Because at the end of the day, alone we're weak, and together we rise. I don't know. Do the ends justify the means? I don't know. Are we heading towards a world where you have to have a subscription for ice? That's not a world that I want for my kids and my grandkids, We're definitely living in interesting, terrifying, and unprecedented times. And I just hope and I pray, for the sake of our children, that God steps in soon, and that we see this event that we've talked about over and over and over, and that it brings healing to this earth. We are caught between worlds. This is the Reality Halfway House.